Welcome to Think Tech on OC16, Hawaii's weekly newscast on things that matter to tech and to Hawaii. I'm Duke Oishi.
And I'm Maria Kashem.
In our show this time, we'll visit Kerry Kakazu in the heart of Kaka'ako to see how his Metro Grow Hawaii vertical farm is doing.
It's a farm without a farm. It's really a high-tech plant factory called Metro Grow Hawaii on the second story of an industrial building in Kaka'ako.
We met with Kerry Kakazu there and he gave us a tour of the farm. He showed us the plants and the systems and explained how things work, how the plants grow, and what needs to be done to get them to market.
All right, we're standing here at actually the second floor of a warehouse in Kaka'ako on Oahu and Cook. It's headquarters of Metro Grow Hawaii. And I'm hoping it's the first vertical farm in Hawaii. And what we're trying to do is to grow vegetables in an indoor hydroponic system. We're just about getting ready to start scaling up and adding more systems. I've been testing out various methodologies for growing the plants indoors, primarily focused on a type of hydroponics called aeroponics. And in aeroponics, we suspend the root system of the plants in air in an enclosed chamber and spray them periodically with nutrient solution to support the growth. And the upper parts of the plant, the leaves and the stems, stay above that solution and so are just in the open air all the time. So I have two systems right now in operation. I've been growing mostly Manoa lettuce as sort of my trial test organism, if you want to say that. It's easy to grow, grows pretty fast. And right now the lettuce is rotated out, and I'm trying a couple of other different kinds of plants to see what might be able to be adaptable to the system. The one that's kind of very exciting right now for me is this ice plant. The ice plant is growing in this plexiglass box, and that's our root chamber, so that's sealed off. There's plastic sheeting on top, and again, the tops of the plants sit on top of the plastic sheeting. The roots hang down into the plexiglass. In the bottom of the plexiglass tank is a nutrient solution. Some of the roots are submerged in there, but the majority of the nutrients are sprayed with a rotary atomizer onto the roots. The system is underneath a bank of LED lights, and LED lights are kind of the new thing. The advancement that I think is allowing a lot of these indoor farms to start to become cost effective. My degree when I studied in graduate school was in plant physiology, and so I've always been interested in how plants function and how they grow. I always kind of kept this as a sort of a hobby, how to grow plants in different ways. Hydroponics, very, very interesting because you don't need soil. So that was always an interest. And then recently, as I started to see things develop, this whole movement towards sustainable agriculture. How can we grow and how can we conserve water? How can we stop impacting the soil with all the extra fertilizer? That was one of the motivations. And then the local food movement. How can we grow our own food without having to import it from the mainland? How can we get it as fresh as possible? How can we grow different kinds of produce that may not be practical for the larger farms? I think once I get more systems in, and we'll see a little bit later, I guess, exactly what kinds of systems we're developing here. I hope that I can start marketing at least small scale in the next few months. To get to the largest scale, again, I think the big things will be to look at the distribution system. Will I be selling direct to the restaurants or through wholesalers? I've been focused primarily on the science and the technology part of it. So I think the next phase would be to look at the business side. You can get different LED lights, obviously different colors, and so manufacturers make different kinds of systems that will let you mix the various colors. And photosynthesis utilizes the red and blue spectrums a lot more than the green and the yellow. So a lot of the manufacturers are optimizing their lamps, grow lamps, by adding more red and blue LEDs. There's a whole branch of science, plant science, called controlled environment agriculture. Cornell University is a big pioneer in this field. University of Arizona seems to have a big program in doing controlled environment. So again, these are just understanding all the physiological processes that plants have, and then determining how can we tweak them to optimize the plant growth. Things that are growing as a commodity, more common lettuces, romaine and head lettuce, that are growing in these large fields. Obviously, the big farms from the mainland, from South America, have the economy of scale that would be very difficult to duplicate in this situation, or even in any farm in Hawaii. So I think those kind of crops are probably not the things that we would focus on here. Again, the restaurant market, on the other hand, is looking for new kinds of crops, new leafy greens. They're also very interested in making sure that it's fresh as possible. Obviously, something you can't get if you're coming from South America. They're also interested in appearance. So I think that's something you can control in an indoor operation maybe more easily than any other kind of operation. In the aeroponics system, obviously there's no contact with that soil. You don't have to worry about the things that live in the soil either, the animals that might have come down and done something to that soil. So you avoid all those issues. I've visited Japan recently, and they do a lot of this indoor hydroponics in what they call plant factories. And they run it more like a real factory, industrial type of system, to the point where they keep the room super clean and they require their workers to shower before they enter to work on the plants. And so they mentioned on some of their packaging, when they sell this lettuce to the consumer, they actually say that you shouldn't wash the lettuce because the lettuce is cleaner than your home. I want this to be a production facility, something where I can make a living out of it, obviously. But I always wanted to make sure I kept that research and development aspect to it. And as I read about various companies, large companies, of course, the ones that seem to be, to me, the most successful are the ones that always maintain that R&D element to them. So they're constantly innovating. Hopefully at some point too, if this expands and gets more successful, I want to hopefully bring some kind of educational component where we can have people, students come through and say, here's something we're doing, and maybe even have them contribute. Gee, I'd like to see if I give the plant this versus this, which one makes it grow better, which one makes it taste better. They can get involved in that too. So again, this is a 750-foot square area, obviously, so I kept it small to keep the cost down and sort of the pilot project. But most of the systems I've been putting in here are fairly modular. So I'm hoping by doing that, you can scale up easily. So if we get a larger warehouse, you can get more units. Maybe other people will come in and help to run these things. One other possibility, if it's modular enough, it could even go out to the restaurants themselves. And the restaurateurs could help develop their own products, and me or I or our company can help them maintain that as be the consultant or the vendor or the caretaker. But the restaurants can dictate, okay, I want to grow this or I want to grow that, and expand it to that market also. This is one of the systems, sort of the first prototype. This is a 30-inch by 30-inch plexiglass box, 12 inches high. More traditionally or typically, the plant roots really don't want or need light, but I did plexiglass just so I could watch the roots develop and see how the spray was distributed. In the future iterations, we'll probably make this opaque so we don't get the light penetration. The difficulty with having light in the root chamber is you get a lot of algae growth, which will compete with the plants growing. For now, we have the plexiglass here, and on top of that, we have a plexiglass sort of frame, and then there's holes in the middle, and on top of that, we have some plastic sheets that I've drilled holes into. And then each of the holes is one of these plants. You can pull one up. And they're sitting in this organic rooting material in a plastic cone. And here's some of the roots that are now dropping all the way down into the water. Unfortunately, I can't pull it all the way out or rip the roots out. Well, you can see the roots can develop right out of this plug. And then the spray underneath, we'll get a shot of that later, nourishes the plants. And then the above ground portion is right under this LED lamp here, and so that supplies the light. Right now this light is on, I think 14 hours a day. I might probably kick that up a little bit to get them to grow a little bit faster. Okay. I got a thermometer there that takes the temperature inside the chamber and outside. So what you see right now is that it says out, but it's actually in. The root chamber is at 73.8. The air temperature is about 82.1. And the reason the root temperature can stay so cool is I'm circulating the solution that's in the root chamber through this chiller. So this chiller keeps the solution down at about 71, and so as it flows through here, that keeps the root portion down at 73. This one's growing a little bit slower than I expected. I'm not sure, maybe it doesn't like the hydroponic system as much. Radishes obviously at the root base will expand this way to produce the radish. So maybe it's a little bit too constrained in this kind of system. But the main reason I wanted to use the radish was it grows really quickly. So this is about 2 weeks old and they're growing like crazy. So no fertilizer, all it is water and vermicast. This is a variation of a fluorescent tube. Instead of using an electrode that you plug into a wire, this actually uses a magnetic coil on these two ends to charge the gas in the tube, and that makes it light up. Supposedly it lasts a lot longer than typical fluorescent tubes and produce a little bit more light. This is wasabi, and this is one of those things that I'm thinking maybe can grow nicely in a hydroponic situation. Again, very high end, costs a lot of money, very hard to grow, takes a long time unfortunately, but it needs very cold conditions, usually cold running water, so something that maybe can be supplied in an indoor hydroponic operation.
Yes, we know Hawaii has had difficulty in developing diversified agriculture. On top of everything else, the most recent setback has been the anti-GMO ordinances in both Kauai and Hawaii Island.
Diversified agriculture is good for Hawaii and for its people and economy. So maybe it's time that Hawaii's farmers, or would-be farmers, take a look at the high-tech in these new vertical farms.
With a vertical farm, food can be grown year-round, every day in the middle of a city, in abandoned warehouses and high-rise buildings, dramatically reducing the need for carbon-emitting transportation of produce.
In a vertical farm, the plants are grown in levels of plant racks. Usually 3 levels can fit in a room with an 8-foot ceiling. The plants get nutrients from water-conserving, soil-free hydroponic or aeroponic systems lit by LEDs.
Vertical farms make food more secure because production can continue even in extreme weather, and that is especially important as climate change worsens. And as long as vertical farmers can protect their plants from pests, they don't need herbicides or insecticides. The result is fresh, tasty, healthy food close to your market.
Vertical farms also conserve water. By recycling water with dehumidifiers, vertical farms can use 98% less water than conventional farms. This also avoids plant problems like leaf mold from too much water.
Vertical farmers can look after multiple farms remotely by using apps. They can monitor equipment and control nutrients and soil balance by smartphone. This reduces labor costs and makes them more competitive.
Some vertical farms rely on natural light. In Singapore, Sky Green's farm does not need artificial light. Its 4-story, glass-sided farm has mobile racks that rotate slowly through sunnier floors of the building.
On the other hand, New Veggie Farm in Kyoto is windowless. Its LED lighting is tuned to 2 kinds of chlorophyll, one using red light and the other blue. It produces 6 million heads of lettuce a year that way.
Actually, the latest research shows that plants don't need light around the clock. All we need to do is provide light from an artificial dawn through an artificial dusk. This technique can save lots of energy.
Energy for artificial light can be expensive. New, more efficient LEDs can reduce these costs, but vertical farmers like Kerry Kakazu are also trying to use natural light for at least part of the day. Light tubes which transmit sunlight directly to indoor lighting devices could be another solution.
Vertical farms are growing worldwide, on the mainland, in Europe, and in Asia. Ironically, the nuclear accident in Fukushima led to vertical farming there because much of the farmland could no longer be used.
Metro Grow Hawaii is a great statement for the possibility of vertical farming, and thus diversified farming in Honolulu, even in the center of the city in Kaka'ako. ThinkTech is excited with this possibility and will follow the story going forward.
Want to know more? Check out Kerry's website, metrogrowhawaii.com. You can also go to our ThinkTech Hawaii channel on YouTube and see the video talk show we had with him a few days ago, where we covered many of these issues in greater detail.
Maybe we could show some of the pictures, what you're growing up there in the vertical farm. Okay, tell us what it is now.
Okay, that one is a close-up of ice plant. This is a fairly unknown crop, at least in Hawaii. I was on a trip recently to Japan, and this is one of the things they're growing in their indoor plant factory, is what they call it. It's kind of a succulent leaf. It's sort of related to the ice plant that you see here as a ground cover, but this one's edible. And so it throws out these little shoots, and so they're a little bit succulent, but a little bit crunchy. And the plant actually is very salt tolerant, so it absorbs some of the salt from the solution, and so it has a little bit of salty taste. So
I like that, yeah.
This would be really interesting in Hawaii, kind of like that sea asparagus that everybody likes.
I can't buy this now, or can I?
Not yet. It's about a month old now, so hopefully in another month or so, we should have some shoots that will come off that can start to be marketed.
Okay, what's this one?
That's just the ice plant a little bit far shot. This kind of shows you the system that I've been using. I'm utilizing a technology called aeroponics. Most people have heard of hydroponics, which is the growing of plants in liquid culture without any soil. And so in most cases, the hydroponics have either sitting in deep culture, deep pools of water, or a small stream of water. In this case, we hang the plants in air. So this is a plastic sheet over a plexiglass box. And there's a good shot of that there. Underneath it,
shot of that.
there's an atomizer. That's a rotary motor that has a little porous cylinder, and that's spraying the roots with the solution. So there's no running water, just this amount of solution that gets sprayed on the roots directly.
What's the benefit of growing plants without soil?
A number of things. You can control the nutrient concentration obviously a lot better. The biggest thing for the roots, especially the aeroponics, is availability of air to the roots. Most people don't really think about the fact that roots are not photosynthetic, so they actually respire like every organism does, and so they require lots of oxygen to develop. So this aeroponic method really provides them with lots of oxygen.
You say 35 days, but if you improve the water, improve the light, improve the nutrients, improve whatever, then maybe it's 34 days. And if it's 34, it could be 33.
Right.
And before you know it, you're turning them over every month.
Yeah, obviously timing is a big thing in profit and productivity. If you can get the crop cycle down to a certain level, you can get more crops per year. Again, that's something that's usually limiting outdoors. So.
Well, I think it's great what you're doing. I'm on a number of levels. I think, diversified agriculture, as I mentioned earlier, is in great jeopardy in this state. We have this legacy, but we have abused the legacy, and it's so hard for an individual to get out of school and make a middle-class living, doing dirt agriculture, just between the land and the regulation, and now the GMO thing. Oh, God, what a headache. And maybe, just maybe, we can feed ourselves. But it seems to me, with all the trouble that dirt farmers have, this may be the solution. And you may find serious competition, actually, Kerry.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. So,
but you welcome it, right?
Yeah, sure. I'm the first, I hope. So that'll give me an advantage. But yeah, definitely. And I think most people realize this is probably going to be, for the foreseeable future, a supplement to traditional farming. You're not going to grow wheat or corn indoors. But to provide specialty produce, to provide things that are leafy greens that are going to be much fresher, if it closer to production. I think that market for sure is something that can be explored.
And now, let's take a look at our Think Tech calendar of events going forward.
Think Tech broadcasts video and audio for all of our talk shows live on the internet from 1 to 5 p.m. every weekday afternoon, and we replay them all night long on ustream.tv. If you missed a show or want to replay or share any show, they're all archived on YouTube.
Visit thinktechhawaii.com for our live stream and YouTube links, or to join our email list and get these links and advisories on our upcoming shows.
We also invite you to be part of our live audience at our downtown studio in Pioneer Plaza. Contact Jay at thinktechhawaii.com. Raise your awareness in every way on Think Tech. And now, here's this week's Think Tech commentary.
Aloha. I'm Nicole Horry of Think Tech. As we run up to Election Day, we're beginning to see an increasing number of messages from those who would help us seek a better life and make Hawaii a better place. As they ask us to vote for them, they often remind us of all the reasons we should go to the polls. Do we need these reminders? Didn't we all go to school and learn that this is a government by the people and for the people? Didn't we learn that voting is our sacred right and our obligation to maintain a free society? Didn't we learn how gratifying it is to cast a ballot, to participate in the fabric of our society? Yet for every 100 people eligible to vote in our last election, 44 did, 56 didn't. We shouldn't wait for candidates to give us reasons to vote. Those reasons should be self-evident. Rather, the burden should be on those who don't vote to explain their failure to the rest of us. If we were like Australia and fined people $20 for not voting, more people might participate. But how can we get people to vote voluntarily? Could we use instant runoff voting for a few races to make people feel that their choice matters? Will the efforts to make Election Day a holiday ever succeed? Some say that voting is less important these days because outcomes aren't determined on Election Day. These days we vote in other ways, by signing petitions and attending public meetings, by joining lobby or activist groups, and by sending letters and testimony to our elected legislators and officials. We can participate in government in so many ways beyond voting. Voting is not the communal act it used to be. It's more convenient to pop an absentee ballot in the mail, but then you miss out on much of the experience. I've been a poll worker 3 times, and I love to see my neighbors there as they cast their ballots. For a long time, voting has been something we do together. But if making voting online would allow more people to participate, would it be worth it? And in any case, there's a futility about it. The inescapable implication of news reports about fundraising and expensive ads on TV is that money can buy votes, not just a few, but enough to landslide an election. The Citizens United case has made this much worse. Cynicism becomes justified. If I feel my vote won't count, I'm much less likely to vote. So we've developed thick skins about advertising in general, and especially when it comes to campaigns. They seem to start right after the previous election and go on continuously to the next. In short, it never ends. Is this a good thing? No. Our politicians are so busy posturing and making promises that we hardly ever get an email that's not asking for money. With this never-ending barrage, a person could turn off about the process, and many have. If you want to get something done, protest about that issue. Voting, even in a mandate election, is rarely linked to one issue. Voting is useful for getting someone into office who agrees with you in general, but well-timed protest or testimony could actually be much more effective if you want legislation on a specific issue. With the internet, there's a constant flow of information going both ways, and government and governing works differently now. The Founding Fathers thought a vote by the majority was sufficient, and that once we voted, our representatives and officials would simply go out and do the will of the people. That's partly due to the limitations they had, when travel and sending messages could take days, but it also assumes that we would trust them to educate themselves and do the right thing. That's not what happens now. Achieving a majority seems to be just a step along the way. It's good that elected officials pay so much attention to changes in public opinion, but they may be influenced more by a small group that raises a fuss than by a larger number of voters who may have a different opinion. Now is the only time that counts if you're in the middle of an endless campaign. There is never a moment of rest, and the choice is always in motion. No wonder we can't get anything done. The founders would be aghast. All the dedicated people who have hammered out our laws and our right to vote over the last 200+ years would be astonished and deeply disappointed. They had hoped, assumed, that the generations that followed would not only respect the government, but be part of it. But here we are, so many of us, turning our backs on even the most basic way to participate. Nicole Horry, Think Tech.
We'll be right back to wrap up this week's edition of Think Tech. But first, we want to thank our underwriters.
Castle and Cook, Hawaii. Investing in Hawaii, creating communities, and providing for the needs of our state. Collateral Analytics. empowering the real estate industry to make better informed property investment decisions. The Foreign Trade Zone, bringing the benefits of the Foreign Trade Zone programs to Hawaii businesses and entrepreneurs. Galen Ho, a senior executive of BAE Systems, a global defense, security, and aerospace company. Hawaiian Electric Company and its affiliates Maui Electric and Hawaii Electric Light Company on Hawaii Island. The Hawaii Energy Policy Forum, incorporating diverse perspectives to design a flexible and forward-looking energy strategy. Hawaii Energy, the state's energy and efficiency program created to help Hawaii's residents and businesses adopt a clean energy lifestyle. Hawaii Gas, helping Hawaii achieve its transition to clean energy and a better energy future. Hawaii Pacific Health, bringing technology and teamwork together to transform healthcare in Hawaii. The High Tech Development Corporation, attached to DBED, is the state's leading technology agency. The Scheidler Family Foundation, supporting educational, cultural, and charitable organizations, including ThinkTech.
Okay, Maria. That wraps up this week's edition of ThinkTech. Remember, you can watch ThinkTech on OC16 several times every week. Can't get enough of it, just like JFI Dell. For additional times, check out OC16.tv.
Definitely, Duke. For lots more ThinkTech videos and for underwriting opportunities on ThinkTech on OC16, visit thinktechhawaii.com. Be a guest or a volunteer, a producer or studio intern, and help us reach Hawaii.
I'm Duke Oishi. Thanks so much for joining us on ThinkTech. You can watch this show throughout the week and tune in next Sunday evening for our next important weekly episode. Aloha, everyone.
I'm Maria Kashem. See you next time.